This is Angie Stewart from My Inner Light here in Kardec Radio. Today is Thursday, March 28, and it's a little bit later than 9 p.m. 9:06. We are late. So today I decided to move locations because it seems my internet connection is never really good in the room that I used to study with you guys. So today I decided to move right next to the modem. So hopefully the connection will be good. But I had a series of issues to be able to make this possible. I almost had to cancel. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Hello, Matthew. How are you? Can you tell me if you can hear me? If it's okay, the sound. I'm trying to test the sound. Was not working before, so hopefully you can hear me. I guess you can. So anyway, so as I was saying, I had all kinds of issues, and oops, hold on. I had so many issues that I actually forgot to turn on the radio connection. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now hopefully we are streaming properly to Kardec Radio and you guys are listening. Can you just, anyone say if it's okay, if you can hear? Loud and clear. Oh, awesome. Very good. Very good. That's important. So, very good. We are finally working here. So, whew, let me breathe. You have no idea how stressful it was to make this talk to work today. So, very good. Our friends are arriving. Hello, Sol. How are you? Carla, Daniela, Stefanelli. Hello, Dani. I'm going to New York in the first week of April. Hopefully I can see you. So very good. You guys can hear me. That's awesome. Teresa, there you are, but no sound. No sound? Really? So, well, Sol said she can hear me well. Well, Teresa, maybe something is wrong there because the others can hear me. Anyway, we are late, and tonight we have a very, very special chapter. So if you're new here, we study bi-weekly this beautiful book, Among Brothers of Other Lands, by many different spirits through the mediumship of Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira. So the studies of 1 hour, we usually spend 40 minutes in this book, and then we study the gospel according to Spiritism for 20 minutes. So let's see how it's going to be today, because this chapter is very big. It's actually an interview, and there are 20 questions that Kardec asked this spirit to answer. So it's long. We usually have 1, 2 pages, and this time we have 4, 5, 6 pages. So it's very long, and I believe we will have to divide it in few sessions. But let's see how it's going to be. So as we always do, I hope you have your water, and we can start with a prayer, and then we can dive in the reading, okay? Dear God, dear Master Jesus, our guardian angels, thank you so much for the blessings of being here today. Thank you for the cooperation. We would like to ask you now for inspiration for all of us that will be talking, will be thinking, will be asking questions and making comments, so we can work all together and make this conversation more pleasant to all of us. Thank you so much. So be it. Very good, my friends. So let's hope it's okay. As you can see, I changed the locations. So hopefully the internet will be good. We will not have any problems with our videos. If you have the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, we are in chapter 5. So I will start reading, and because there are many questions, I will read few and we make comments, and please you can ask questions, then I can continue. So let's go a little bit and I will give you some important explanations. So the title is 20 Subjects with William James, and who is writing this text is the spirit of André Luiz. So André Luiz starts, taking into account the specific cultural environment of the Spiritist movement in the United States, USA, and Brazil, below we present 20 questions that were directed to Dr. William James, the eminent American physician, psychologist, and philosopher, departed in 1910. So let's read the little piece that talks about who was William James. So William James, he was born in 1842 and departed in 1910. American philosopher and physician at Harvard University. He was influenced by Swedenborg's ideas. He left a doctrinal contribution which projected in the fields of psychology, theory of knowledge, and philosophy of religion. So he was a very important philosopher, thinker. We can think about that. But you have to see also that he was inspired by a very important man, by a great thinker. So here they only say Swedenborg's ideas. So who was Swedenborg? Well, his name was actually Emanuel Swedenborg, and as his last name, Swedenborg, he was actually from Sweden. He was also like an inspiration. He had so many different titles, but he was very well known. He was very well known as a theologian. Do I say theologian? Yes, he was a theologist, okay? He was a scientist, he was a psychologist, he was a psychiatrist. He had many different titles, extremely, extremely intelligent. But he was very, very well known because of this book, the book that he wrote. The title was On the Afterlife, Heaven and Hell. So we are in 2019. If you think about someone writing a book like this, On the Afterlife, Heaven and Hell, it's already something different. It's already something that's going to call a lot of attention, and also a lot of people that will be disbelieving it, will not believe in it at all, especially from a man of science. And he was both. He was a theologist, but he was also a scientist, a thinker, a philosopher. So he was like in the both realms, if we can say. But it's not, we are not talking about 2019. This book was actually written in the 1700s in Sweden. Isn't that something really different? So in Sweden, in the 1700s, this man wrote this book. And it's really a very powerful book. I didn't read the whole book, but I really would like to read, would like to purchase this book and read to understand what were his ideas, what were his thoughts about the afterlife, about heaven and hell in the 1700s. So this is just for us to have a base of understanding where Dr. William James really got his inspiration. So this is important for us. Remember that Dr. William James, he is American. So now that we know a little bit about Swedenborg, then we can go a little bit more on this interview. I'm sorry. So the interview was held in the night of his visit to our prayer and spiritual assistance group. So there were many spiritist groups, and this in this specific case is related to the United States. So you see here, take into account the specific cultural environment of the spiritist movement in the US and Brazil. So the 20 questions were directed to Dr. William James, that departed in 1920, and he was American. The first question: dear friend, being in New York for a visit among Brazilian friends, we would like to know if the research of truth still continues to receive your collaboration. So this is the question they asked them. So he was a researcher of the truth, of the afterlife. He tried to understand what would happen to us in the afterlife. So they are very interested in knowing what is he thinking. And he says, yes, after death, we continue to follow the same line of activity that we had on Earth during the last physical experience. If these activities reveal a defined aspects that are able to dissipate the past mistakes we accumulated during previous reincarnations, we should not hesitate to continue broadening them as much as possible, using every resource at our hand. So, very interesting his answer. As you can see, we do not change when we go to the spiritual realm. Whatever we are here, we will continue in the spiritual realm. So if he was a researcher, he was a mind that was trying to investigate what were the possibilities. And when he discarnated, when he had his passage, he continued doing the same. He is more interested in understanding it. So it's very, very good for us. A lot of people that are not spiritists, they actually think that when someone dies, they become like much better. They become something special. And as us spiritists, we understand that's not true. Whatever you are here, you will continue there. It's a little bit different because you will have a better vision. You will be able to envision things that the physical body did not allow you to do. But we are not gonna change if we were a bad person to become a good person, or vice versa. Whatever we are, we will continue. But yes, our minds will be a little bit better, have like a better vision and a better understanding of what's going on. Let me see if there is any questions or comments here so I can actually read. Let me see. Looking forward, the sound, but not when I comment. So Teresa, you're still having problems with the sound. I see you were talking about. Who is that? Oh, who is asking the questions? These questions were asked by the spirits group that were visiting New York, and they decided to how can I say, evoke this spirit and ask these questions. As you know, in the past, this was one of the techniques that Kardec actually did. He used to evoke personalities that could answer questions guided towards important points. Nowadays, we do not do this anymore. Nowadays, we really follow what Chico Xavier said, that the phone rings there, here. But in that time of Kardec was different. He was not doing this for more curiosity. He was really doing because he wanted to understand and he had to investigate. So this was very important. And the spirit they are talking, it's a very well-known spirit. So Dr. William James, as I just mentioned. So let's continue. Let me see if there is any other question. So how is André Luiz involved? André Luiz is actually the spirit who is dictating this conversation to Chico Xavier or Valdo Vieira, one of the two, I don't know which one. So André Luiz is dictating this conversation that passed among the group that Kardec coordinated and this spirit who is connected to United States. So in the visit that Chico Xavier and Valdo did to the United States, remember that they psychographed lots of messages related to our country here in America. So that's how André Luiz is giving this conversation for us. So it's almost like André Luiz is being a reporter, telling what happened through the mediumship of Chico and Valdo Vieira. That's what's going on here. So let's go. Question number 2. Do you have the same enthusiasm for the study of Spiritism as before? He answers, without a doubt. The principles of the new revelation are a field of infinite possibilities. So as you can see, his desire for understanding and learning continues the same. He continues with the same perspective, like I want to discover more. As a scientific mind, he wants to understand. That's also how we should be spiritists. We should always try to understand something so we don't have this blind faith. It's very important. Other day, I don't know who asked, oh, I think it was my son. My son, he found a doll in the ocean. He brought to the house. And he was like joking with me, what would I do? I made him to throw this doll in the garbage because it was like a voodoo doll, not really nice. So I made him to throw this doll in the garbage. And he was like, Mom, what would you do if I throw the doll in the garbage and suddenly the doll is in the living room? And I said, well, I would go back to the garbage and check if it's not there. And he's like, no, it's in the living room. Well, I would have to discover if you weren't playing games with me and you actually put the doll in the living room. And then I started giving him all kinds of options. And then he asked me, wouldn't you think immediately the doll moved itself to the living room? And I said, no, because just because if it is possible, it doesn't mean it will happen. And as a good spiritist, we should always research every single possibility to disprove, to understand. And if there is no other possibility, then we can think, oh, it might be something spiritual, something connected. But it's very important for us always to try to really understand what's going on, because if we just so it's a spirit, that's not a good spiritist way of living, because we really have to understand things and not have a blind faith in anything. So that's exactly how he is proceeding. He's trying to better himself and understand more and more. So number 3, what do you think about the use of science in Spiritist matters? He answered, today, I understand the importance of science to settle the question of a survival of the soul. However, at the same time, I realize that many investigators, with rare exceptions, waste time repeating experiments exhaustively, trying to find a way out of the ethical aspects related to the subject. So very interesting his question and his answer, because he knows how important it is to do the research and really to be able to have a better understanding. But at the same time, he sees there are so many scientists that are trying to prove what many others already did. So they are doing the same thing that was done already. Instead of trying to find something else, to try to focus on something else and discovering more things, they are trying the same things that was already done. Why? Maybe because they did not believe that was possible. Maybe because they want to have their own input. We don't know. And we know that in the past, for example, many mediums were extremely researched. I don't know if you know, but there was a medium, Italian medium, called Eusapia Palladino. She was extremely powerful. Her mediumship was unbelievable, unbelievable. And she was very poor, very poor. She had no money to do anything. So when this doctor, this scientist, went to her and he offered her money to be able to study her, so she wouldn't be able to work during the period that he was going to be studying her, she accepted. And she really, that was impossible not to believe. And the way she was researched, very, even like painful way of research. They used to tie to her hands, her body, she couldn't move. It's really deep. And they couldn't disprove that wasn't her producing the phenomena. But people just decide not to believe, even if they are very categorical in the scientific way, because when you do a scientific research, there are many steps that have to be followed. And if these steps are not followed, this research is not qualified as scientific. That's why it's so methodical. But it's important to be done so the science world can understand a little bit about mediumship and many other phenomena. So let me just see if there is any questions or comments here. Okay, I misunderstood. Teresa saying, you are a good role model of a good mom. Oh, Teresa, you're so sweet. Thank you. I don't know if he thinks the same. Matthew said, skepticism is always good to put first. Yes, Matthew, even for us, Spiritism, that we have a tendency of believing a lot, it's very important that we do research. There is an old show. Oh my God, it's already 9:30. There is an old show that I used to watch on TV. It was called... I think was Ghost Hunters or Ghostbusters. Ghost Hunters. And Ghostbusters is the movie. Ghost Hunters. And I really enjoyed this show. They used to go to all kinds of places. They were famous for being hunted. So they used to go there. They used to interview people to understand what happened, what kind of phenomena, who died, who lived, whatever. And then they used to set up all their cameras and microphones, and nowadays there are so many good equipment to be able to find, to see movement, whatever. One thing that I really liked is that they try to disprove everything they discover. So they had a sound on the roof. They used to go there to check if there is anyone there. They used to search there is some kind of leakage that's producing some kind of echo. They used to see if there are animals. So it was really good. They tried everything to disprove. If there was no possibility, then they went deep in listening to the sounds. They went with the camera. So this is how we're supposed to do too. If we believe in every single thing, we are not spiritists anymore. We are just blind. Other people from many different religions that they have their blind faith, and they don't actually understand there are many different faiths, that they can believe in little bit different things, but God is only one, and he is the Father of all of us. So okay, so let me see. Discernment, Teresa said yes, very important, Teresa. So Claudia Silva, hello Claudia, welcome. She said, so I didn't understand you say about the doll your son bring. If it's possible, you're talking again. Okay, Claudia, I already talked about that, but very quickly, my son went in the sailing excursion with his friends, and he found a voodoo doll. And I don't know if it's really a voodoo doll, but it really looks like, and it's very weird. So he brought home, just because I'm a spiritist and medium, so he wanted to know if I was going to feel something connected to the doll. And he asked the question. I made him to throw the doll in the garbage, and he did. The garbage outside of our house, and he did. So when he returned, he asked if the doll appeared in the living room, if it was going to be connected, what would I do? And I said, well, I would first go back to the garbage, and I said I would search all possibilities to check if someone did that, not have the blind faith, the doll materialize itself in my living room. That's what we were discussing before. So that's what I'm talking about, not having blind faith. We really need to research everything. So Jocinei Benjamin Cavalcante, welcome Jocinei, very good to have you here. Estamos em conexão com vocês em Natal pela Rádio Rasa do Espírito de Natal. Hello, you are in Natal transmitting in English. That's awesome, very good. I'm super excited. That's awesome. I'm very happy people are listening in English in Brazil. That's very, very good. Regina Medi, hello, my friend Regina. Fabricia Mancuso, hello, Fabricia, we have to meet. Jocinei Benjamin, so Rádio Casa dos Espíritos Natal.com.br. Wow, this is so exciting. Very good, Jocinei. Thank you so much. So let's continue. Which question we read for? Do you believe you should? Okay, question number 4. Do you believe we should establish boundaries to the scientific cooperation in the circles of spiritist studies? And then he answered, I do not wish to affirm that the scientific research isn't required. I would rather propose that the researcher can hardly avoid the duty of listening to one's own conscience. A wise person isn't merely a recorder of technical terminology, but rather a spirit endowed with advanced knowledge, which is called by the superior order for the improvement of life. Wow, very powerful. So they ask him, do you believe we should establish boundaries, like where it starts and where it ends, to the scientific cooperation in the circles of spiritist studies? So he answered, I do not wish to affirm the scientific research isn't required. So he's saying, I don't want to tell you the scientific required is not important, because it is. He knows it is important. But he says, I would rather propose that the researcher can hardly avoid the duty of listening to one's own conscience. A wise person isn't merely a recorder of technical terminology. So an intelligent person is not like a machine that's going to record specific terms, but is a person that thinks I like to say, thinks out of the box, thinks in a different way. So that's why they are scientists, because they can think in a different way that most of the people cannot. And then he says, but rather a spirit endowed with advanced knowledge, which is called by the superior order for the improvement of life. And that's how a good scientist should be. A good scientist should be a person that's really a superior mind, that thinks different than the others. If everybody is doing this, and you think doing this is better, even if it is different, so do it, because that's how so many things are discovered. When everybody is trying to follow the exactly same thing, they are not finding the answers. But when a different mind comes and thinks slightly different, discover so many things. And that's exactly what he's trying to say. Science is important, but not that science that's following absolutely like everybody else. A scientist that will be able to see things in a different way and research in a different way. Very interesting. Question 5. What do you think about parapsychology? And then he answers, formally, parapsychology can be traced back to the beginning of humankind. The Bible itself contains several examples, as in the second book of Kings 6:12, when the prophet or medium Elisha reads the mind of the king of Assyria, just like the best subjects of rhymes, experiments, and others. So that's very interesting too. So what do you think about parapsychology? And then he said, parapsychology can be traced from the beginning of humankind. So parapsychology, like the study of something that's out there. Like we can talk about mediumship. The study of mediumship, for example, we could mention that. And then he mentions about the studies of the Bible, when the prophet and the medium Elijah, here is written Elisha, but it's also pronounced Elijah, reads the mind of the king of Syria. So we know the prophet Elijah, he had an extremely powerful mediumship of many different types, even of materialization, so many different ones. And the Bible mentions all his capabilities. The Old Testament mentions it. Even when he confronted the, I forgot the name of the population, he confronted where the king of the Hebrews had married a queen that was, the queen, she believed in many different gods. So the king was betraying the Hebrews because now he was following more the faith of his wife that had many different gods. So Elijah goes towards the king and he tells him, you are betraying your old faith. And then the king's like, no, we are more with my wife, you know, in a modern way saying. And then Elijah starts telling him that he was going to call the one God and prove to him that those thousands of priests, they were not going to be able to do the same thing that he was going to do. So it's a long story, but Elijah starts doing certain phenomena, and 1,000 priests try for hours and hours, and they cannot do it. So in the end, they set up some kind of fennel, how can I say, like that material, like some kind of dry wood, I don't know the name in English, some kind of a dry wood, very thin, so it can burn really quickly. So the priests put all that thin wood and they say they are going to put on fire. And Elijah, he requires very thick wood, and he tells his helpers to wet with water. So the wood of Elijah is wet with water, and it's a very strong material that's very difficult to burn. And he tells the 1,000 priests, you go first, ask your gods to burn the fennel, that I don't know in English the name of this thin wood. And they tried for hours and hours and hours, and they were not able to do it. And then he said, okay, now I will call my God, the only God, to do the same with my wet wood. And then he does a prayer, and boom, everything is on fire. So this was already a connection, his mediumship, but also his own energy that could how do I say, who could exteriorize and produce this phenomenon. So this is a very, very interesting story, and it's in the Old Testament. If you haven't read, please do so. It's extremely, extremely interesting. So Renata Casadei, hello Renata, welcome, welcome. Fabrícia Mancuso, muito boas energias, seja bem-vinda de você. Lucia Birmingham, hello Lucia, nice to see you. King Solomon, no, was not Solomon. I have to research the name of the king and put it here for all of us to read. It's a very, very famous passage in the Bible. I will research and I will write there to all of us. So it's 9:42. We only read until number 5. So let's see if we have time to another one. My goodness, 20 questions. So let me see. Okay, let's read one more. What do you think about the Spiritists? This is number 6. So let me just write. Maybe we just finish a few more questions and we don't do the gospel. So let's see. What do you think about the Spiritist collaboration in the parapsychological research? This word is always difficult for me. And then he answers, whenever possible, Spiritists must cooperate with the developments of parapsychology so that this discipline shouldn't fall on the hands of fanatic minds, whether they come from science or religion. However, Spiritists should help with no loss to their commitment and lines of actions. Very, very interesting also. So they ask him, what do you think about the Spiritist collaboration with parapsychological research? And he said, it is good. They should collaborate. And it's even more important that this type of study or this type of research don't fall on hands of fanatic minds. Fanatic minds that are from science or fanatic minds that are from religion. So as we know, anything that's an extreme is not good. Everything that's in balance is good. Even with ourselves. You like chocolate. So if you eat a little bit of chocolate, it's good. It's not going to be a problem. But if you eat a lot of chocolate, it's a big problem. Salt, the same thing. Sugar, the same thing. So everything in our lives have to be in balance to be okay. The overuse of everything is bad. So the same thing in science. So a scientist that only believes, I only can believe what is proved by science. That's a problem, because the many scientists from nowadays, their minds are already much open and they understand there is a limit for science. There are certain things that you cannot prove. I posted on my Facebook an interview with a Brazilian singer. Too bad she's Brazilian and her interview is all in Portuguese. She's a beautiful girl. She's very beautiful. And she had a disease that nobody could understand. She was basically dead for hours, and they couldn't understand. They said her lungs, they were not working, and it's impossible to work. They removed the machines and they start working, and the doctors couldn't believe. It's a huge thing. It seems that all her organs, they were stopping, and the doctors basically they give up. They all gave up because was nothing else they could do. And even after they removed the machines, she continued alive, and little by little her organs start working. And she said that during all those months her mind was there, but it was difficult for her to communicate. So many times nurses came to her and they were telling her, if the answer is yes, you blink once. If it's no, blink twice. She understood what they said, but she said she had no coordination to do the blink. So they really couldn't understand if she was understanding them or not. So it's really like a miracle. So the doctors, they came afterwards and they told her, you are a case that we have to study, because we can't understand. We can't understand how is that possible. And this girl nowadays, who used to be a singer in Brazil, nowadays she said her life is totally transformed. She's cured. She's back to her normal. And she decided to dedicate her life really to bring the good news to everybody. So she became a pastor in a church, and she travels telling her life story and making people to believe in what is impossible, to believe in what science cannot understand yet. And she always says that her faith cured her when she was really desperate, in pain, and her mind was so out of focus. The only thing she said was, I only can think of God. And she said through the interview that if she could recover from it, she would make sure people would understand and believe that whatever happened to her can happen to others too. It's very powerful, very beautiful. I wish we could have a way to put subtitles in what she said, because it was really, really amazing. So let me see here what else we have here. So Jocine said, let me translate, Jocine. You said, thank you very much, under the name of Rádio Casa dos Espíritos de Natal. The city of Caicó also is listening to us through the house of Francisco de Assis. Estamos agora online na internet com 150 people listening from Brazil and the world. This is super exciting. Very nice, Jocine Cavalcante. This is a wonderful news. This is really good that we can spread the good news in the English language, and our Brazilian friends can understand English also. This is super exciting. Very good. So Matthew said, okay, must gotten them mixed because he had several wives with different religions. Yeah, Matthew, I don't think it's him. I have to research the name and put it to correct for you. But it's in the Old Testament. When we finish, I will research and I will let you know. So Guilherme Queiroz said, hello. Hi, Guilherme. Welcome, welcome. Teresa said, thank you. This makes sense. I hope, Teresa. Sometimes I talk so much that I get confused myself. So Betsy said, dark chocolate, yum. Yes, Betsy. I also love chocolate, but we have to control ourselves. So Matthew said, I have a pretty big sweet tooth. Yes. So we can eat chocolate, we can eat candy, but then we have at least to do 30 minutes of exercise every day. Is that possible? Very hard, but now with technology and a TV, we don't even need to go to the gym. We can exercise in the living room. I do it. So if I do it, you can do it. So we can eat chocolate. So Zaza, hello Zaza Xavier, long time I haven't seen you, very good. Hipólito Rebolo, hello Hipólito, long time I haven't seen you here too, very good. Deborah Beldovitz, hello my friend, New Jersey. So Betsy said, hello from New York. Yay, New York, I will be there in April. I'm so excited. Hipólito from Brazil. Wow, we have people from everywhere. And it's very exciting that we are also online with our friends, Jocinei Cavalcante. This is super cool. So my friends, let's read one more. So because we have 20 questions today, we are not going to do the gospel, but next 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, then we will do more like 5 questions, and then we do the gospel also, because it's important. Our loving gospel is my heart. Question number 7. How do you define the position of the Spirit's knowledge on earth? The equilibrium of the moral personality requires the purest Spiritist knowledge, just as the best organic states require the healthiest nourishment possible. Wow! Beautiful! Did you guys understand? This is powerful. Let's read again. How do you define the position of the Spiritist knowledge on earth? The equilibrium of the moral personality requires the purest Spiritist knowledge, just as the best organic states require the healthiest nourishment possible. So that's what we were talking about, the balance. We can eat our chocolate and then we do exercise. So whenever we have this beautiful balance on earth, this is a blessing. Whenever the science discover there are things they cannot explain, and these things are really related to God, to religion, to whatever they can't prove yet, then science will be really opening up. And the same thing with religion. We cannot say, oh, religious people, the perfect ones. It's not true. We understand it, especially in the past, that was much, much worse. In the past, the religious people with their blind faith, they killed so many people. They killed so many scientists because of this terrible blind faith. But nowadays, we have religious people that also understand the science is important. And in Spiritism, we even the spirits, even André Luiz, now was Emmanuel. Emmanuel told Chico Xavier, if science proves something more than what I'm saying, stay with science. It's important for us to understand it. It's important for us to understand these both have to go together. So when they are able to understand each other, when they are able to embrace each other, then we will be really in the world of regeneration. Until then, we still have to go through many steps. We have to go through painful steps sometimes, but we have to understand that the things are getting so easy, much easier nowadays, much easier. Things are getting really more open. If you think about Spiritism in the time of Chico Xavier, and you compare nowadays, can you imagine the difference? I know we are in the United States and here is different, but in Brazil, when you mention you are a spiritist, for example, everybody knows what spiritism is. They might not know deeply, they might not know exactly what is spiritism, but they know. They all, in Brazil, is very broad, you know. In Brazil, is in the soap operas, it's in the TV. Every corner there is a spiritist center. Every person knows someone who is a spiritist, and most of all, the vast majority of spiritists are extremely connected with charity. So this is beautiful, because lots of beautiful, beautiful actions are being done by spiritists. So as the spirits, they always tell us, demonstrate who you are through your example. It's not what you talk, but it's what you do. Is what you do. Because many times people can talk about many beautiful things, but they never ever do anything. So that's the problem. And the spiritists, they are very connected with a charity that is love in action. As Paul Soul, that became Saint Paul, used to say that the charity is love in action. And that's how we have to be. We have to be this love in action, that people, like, they look, they observe us, they look our behavior, our ways of living, and then they can say, wow, this person is very nice, is very positive. What does she do? Why she's like this, or why is he like this? And then they start trying to get more understanding of what do you do. And many times they're like, whoa, what is this spiritism thing? Here in the United States is like that, because the United States is not like in Brazil, everybody knows about it. So here you have actually to give a little bit of explanation, because they have no idea what it is. And you also don't want them to mix up, because when I moved here to the United States in 2001, I was already a spiritist. I had just become spiritist in Brazil, because my family is they are all Catholics, but my mediumship had really very powerful. I already told this story here. So I had to have help, and God brought me to this friend's house. And then when I told my huge problem, I remember my aunt just told me, Angie, you just have mediumship. That's it. And I was just like, that's it? Can I get rid of them? I don't want to see them anymore. And then she explained, oh, it's not like that. So she is actually the one who helped me to understand what is mediumship, and she brought me there. So when I moved to the United States, I had to purchase the books, the basic books of the codification, and I was studying, but I had just purchased the books. I had very little knowledge of spiritism. I was a medium, but I had very little knowledge of spiritism. So I started studying alone, and then I discovered on the internet a way that I could study with a group of people in the internet. But then I also, in that time, you know, I talk a lot, and when, as you can see, and when I came to the United States, my husband's family, they are all Americans, and I start talking about spiritism to all of them. And his lovely aunt, who is already in the spiritual realm, I love her so much. So Aunt Kathy, she wanted to help me, so she bought me a book that she believed was of spiritism, because I also only had few books in Portuguese. And I got super excited. It was a very thick book and I love reading. So I got super excited. I opened the book and I start going through. It's in English, so I'm trying to understand. And then I remember opening a portion of the book and they had like how to remove the blood of the animal. I remember like, what is this? Blood of the animal? So I start reading. I'm like, oh my God. Definitely it's not spiritism because we don't have this type of thing. So what happened? The book was of Santeria. Santeria is a different type of religion. I believe it's some African religion that have some rituals, and in these rituals they kill animals. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to explain to her that spiritism, we do not do any type of sacrifices. And so this is just for you to have an idea of how it's difficult to talk about spiritism in the United States. People do not understand if this type of things already happen in Brazil, because people many times they make confusion between spiritism and some different African religions. Imagine in the United States that they have absolutely no idea. But we live and learn, and we have to be the messengers of the good news. So in a loving way, we explain spiritism has nothing to do with this. We pray, we love Jesus, and little by little, whatever the person is able to comprehend at that moment. But the most important thing is that we continue from our heart, and we continue studying and improving ourselves. That's the most important thing. So my friends, it's 10:02. Time flies. I'm very happy that even with the bad connection, I was able to make it happen. So before I go, I just want to let you know that this Sunday, to the ones that are here in Miami and you would like to study Spiritism in the park, please get in touch with me, because we're meeting at the park, Kennedy Park in Coconut Grove at 5 p.m. It would be a pleasure to have you there. So now let's just close our eyes and do our final prayer so you can all be well connected tonight. Dear God, beloved Master Jesus, thank you so much for your inspiration, for your loving messages, for all our friends that are here with us, receiving this good news, to all the ones that will be listening to this talk later on, in Kardec Radio, and in many other ways through Facebook. Thank you so much for the blessings of technology that help us to spread Spiritism in English all over the planet, this beautiful blue planet. Please, Master, protect all of us, guard us, help us to have great night sleeps, and help us to come back here in 2 weeks to continue this study. Thank you so much. So be it. Also, my friends, it was a blessing to have all of you here. So I will be here in 2 weeks. I will be actually in New York City. So the next study, I will be in New York City. I hope to have a good connection and I will be able to transmit from New York our study. Have a great night. I will be talking to you, and I will research the name now for you, my friend. So let's see if I can find it. Bye-bye. Have a great night.